My name's Aaron Tabacoli. I'm the MarketDirect Product Marketing Manager here at EFI, and we are very thankful for you joining us this morning or this evening, depending on where you're coming in from. So let's get started. Just a quick bit of background here, which speaks to a little bit about why we've put a reasonable and so much effort into our packaging procurement, our digital packaging procurement technology. But this is a big growth area, and today it's interesting because in this industry, fewer than 10% of companies are using digital procurement technology to actually manage their supply chains. And the digital tools, for those early adopters who are, they're really transforming the procurement process. And some of those tools are traditional e-commerce technology, but many of them have been adapted specifically for packaging and packaging applications. And what they're bringing, in addition to increased service performance and sales order management processes for your customers, are enormous savings for you as you reduce the footprint and the number of touches required to capture an order online and process it all the way through your operation or factory. It's also opening new strategic opportunities where you're able to productize your procurement process and deliver solutions rather than just products to your end customers. It's also developing more agile and streamlined ways of working, which enables you to get products to market faster, to test them, to deploy them, and take them to a wider range of customers. And it's also, of course, allowing your teams to focus on value-added services rather than repetitive manual tasks. So a lot of opportunity in this space. The challenges that the industry is facing aren't unlike many other industries right now. And of course, with some of the current events, these challenges are exacerbated or only made worse. But time to market pressure is always an issue. And with smaller runs and digital runs, that challenge only grows higher. Complexity and time-consuming order and capture processing. So it is often difficult to capture specifications and parameters for some of the applications and SKUs that we're supporting. So in order to, of course, support a digital fulfillment process, those have to be managed and simplified as much as possible for self-serve. Scaling down costs of transactions is often challenging. Quite often businesses in this industry hit a wall where they can't take that cost per transaction down any further. Certainly that's something we've looked at very closely with this technology. Enabling customers to self-serve and track their own orders, both in production and both out of production. Inventory control and management, and of course, getting paid, your invoicing, e-commerce and digital procurement certainly helps shorten the gap to cash flow, and sustainability and just-in-time ordering. So these are very big topics, I'm sure, on most of your list of priorities right now, and ones that we've looked at and examined very carefully when pulling together this MarketDirect PackCentral platform. So just before we switch to and give you a live look at this, some of the questions that we're hearing from you and some of the concerns that are foremost on your list about, procurement technology and digital procurement technology in particular, are, ROI, obviously, that's top of the list. How will a platform like this pay for itself? And I think you're going to see that the ROI on this for some customers comes as soon as you turn on your first, you transition your first customer over to the platform. How will I convince my customers to order online? In many cases, by not giving them a choice. Obviously, it depends on the client and the specific situation. For many customers today that are moving to digital procurement tech, pricing is what drives their customers to make that transition. On the training side, we've really focused on simplicity so that insofar as your customers are concerned, the requirement for training and the tools that you'll see are very intuitive and much like any other e-commerce platform that they interact with in their personal or business lives today. Another very big question that we're hearing from the industry is integration with your ERP. And this platform's based on and built on a lot of open standards to ensure that whatever ERP you're coming from, we've got the ability to interface with it. And we've got a robust API that can plug into, again, most standard industry data exchange protocols. And then finally, what exact options and configurations do I need? And that's something you can determine as you get into more depth. And you can start, that's one of the nice things about this platform. You can really start as small as you like and grow that over time so that as your needs and requirements change, as more of your customers come online, as you add more SKUs to the system, you can really scale it. You don't need to start with everything. So nice flexible licensing and deployment options are available. Okay, so let's talk about the platform, PackCentral, and a little bit of an overview of what Devo is going to be showing you in 1 second. Really what we're talking about are these 5 pillars when deploying an e-commerce or procurement solution. First of all, you need a platform that gives you control over your users, the ability to manage user account profiles, manage department cost centers, manage authentication and access, of course, and ensure that's all secured. You need a method to build out custom product catalogs, or what we sometimes refer to as shop fronts or storefronts. These are your physical, or not physical rather, these are your virtual retail locations. You need to be able to integrate key design elements to mirror their existing branding or to mirror your branding. And you need to be able to do that relatively easy. So we use a smart store builder to ensure that, you know, in a WYSIWYG environment, you can quickly build out and customize a store. Next, of course, very importantly, you need the ability to add products to your virtual store. And you need to be able to do that, again, very easily. And given that we're selling packaging, you need 3D visualization tools to enable your customers to view your products and approve them and get a sense of what they're going to look like before they purchase them. And that's all wound into, of course, an intuitive buyer user experience. So adding items to the cart, a clean and logical method of checking out without too many steps, and simple and fast reorder workflows with cost center and budget control. And then finally, at the tail end, you need the ability to take those orders and push them to production. Of course, generate invoices and run your reporting and analytics. So with that in mind, I am going to now hand over to my good colleague, Devo, who is going to give us a live demo of some of those very features and give you a look at what the user experience looks like close up. Thank you, Devo.
All right, Aaron, let me go ahead and share my screen. And let me know when you can see my screen, in fact.
You're up and running.
All right, awesome. Okay, so there's a couple of things going on here. I've got a storefront sitting in front of me. I haven't logged into it yet. I'm really going to put on 2 different hats during this. The first will be the hat of the buyer who's approaching this site, the end user, the customer. And then secondly, I'm going to put on the hat very, very briefly at the end as the administrator of the system who now has to cope with those orders that have come in. So when I first, and I guess let me even preface this by saying, I'm assuming that there's people watching who are very familiar with the system, use it already, but have some questions about or want to see some of the version 11 stuff, and that there's other people who haven't seen the system at all, and of course people along the spectrum. So if some of what I show you is basic, You already get it. You're already there. Please don't take that as being patronizing in any way. I hope it isn't, but I'm assuming a wide breadth of people. So I'm coming in, first of all, as the end user who works at Shorefront Brewery. And let's come in with a password. And the storefront that's been presented to me by the packaging site is for my brand, Shorefront Brewery, with some branding, some logos, and so forth that are for me. And of course, the manufacturing company that is licensing PackCentral might have 10 or 20 or 30 of these different storefronts for their various customers, which of course makes for a very, very sticky relationship with those customers. We've reduced the barrier to ordering from us down to as little as possible. They're going to stick with us. Now, the site that I've presented here is oriented toward a corrugated product, but don't be deceived by that. By all means, we could be presenting all different kinds of packaging and so forth. I'm just using corrugated in this particular storefront, but you can see there's even some non-corrugated items down near the bottom, which we'll get to. Also recognizing we have a very limited amount of time to show this to you, I'm going to go through some parts of it very quickly. If you're interested in seeing more of this in greater depth, of course, by all means, contact your sales rep, and we'd be happy to work with you on that. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk through a handful of these samples, starting with what's arguably the simplest of all types of products, moving toward perhaps more complexity and more interest. The most basic thing we could offer the customer on the far left here, you can see we've just got this ad hoc product, we call it. Now, ad hoc simply means there's not many constraints placed on what the customer can order. Now, I can put a bunch of constraints. This one happens to be quite open. So when we click Buy Now, the customer comes in. Oh, did I click it? I didn't click it. And we've presented to them a 30 by 30 inch substrate of some type, which they might be able to change, might not. In this case, I've opened up width and height to being alterable. I've also opened up the media so they can come in and potentially choose from different media types. You'll see this again and again in the various different product types. So if we change the media, we try to simulate the look of that media. Width and height could be altered. I'm not going to do that here, but it would be pretty obvious to see that I can. I can also force the user to order in quantities of certain breaks, quantities of 100, for example, or I could have opened this to a free-form field. They can type in anything they want, or maybe they can only order 10, and that's it. Each of the product types that I show you all have these types of constraints allowed within them. So I'm going to come in and just call this one a nice order. And what is the customer allowed to do? Well, frankly, not a lot in this particular case. They're going to come in and hit Add Files in the top left. They can upload files from their own system. They might have saved some previously. There's some other resources on the internet they could use. I'm going to look and see if I have any that I've used in the past, and in fact, I do. It's a PDF file. We support many different file types, even down to native InDesign files, which we will convert in the background automatically. File comes in, it'll be presented on the screen, I could move it around and so forth. I cannot resize it, which is a good thing. We require that the operators are uploading artwork that is presumably ready to be used. Now, we are not concerned as the manufacturer is going to receive this with what's going on in this sheet per se. So as you can see, this one needs to be converted, but the instructions are not necessarily within here that converting will occur. That if we knew it was going to be converted and there was a die present, that would be a different product type. This is ad hoc. It's really the customer saying, I'm going to upload artwork. When I add this to the cart, I'm expecting you to print it. You may be converting it or not. That's a separate question. Or you might be returning this sheet to me because I'm going to be converting it. Maybe it's just a printed sheet. So don't believe that this has to be anything except something to be printed. It's when we get into the knowledge that we will be die cutting and converting, we probably would choose a different product type. So this one on purpose is very open-ended. Having looked at it, you'll see in the bottom left there's a price, $1,332. If I hover the mouse over it, you can see how that price has been combined. So in this particular case, it's a combination of the impressions billed per square foot and then the media that's being used or consumed per square foot. The combination of those two plus any fees and so forth gives me a total. Now, the pricing can be done one of several ways. It could be per each, per piece of media. Maybe you just say, hey, here's a 30 by 30 inch piece of media, put whatever you want on it. We just charge you $2 a piece, or whatever the case is. So there's a number of different ways that things can be priced out. You could even go and say, you know what, if they're going to order 100 or 200, I'll give them a price right here and they can order it. But the minute they go beyond 500 or 800 or some threshold you set, and I think if I jump this up to say 700, it's going to say in the bottom, the price requires a quote. I'm not comfortable with this particular product once a quantity reaches a certain height, or the size of the sheet, or maybe the type of media, whatever the case is, you put in the thresholds that say, you can put this in your cart and submit it, but I'm going to have to get back to you with a quote. So for some of our customers, that's a big deal. They want to quote on many things. They're using the storefront just to collect data from the customer and get the order in. Other customers are like, no, if I have to touch it or even think about it, I'm losing money. So everything, I will find a way to make a price for it. And if it's a quantity beyond that, then I'll deal with that a different way. All right, once having done this, I'm going to add this to my cart. I'm not going to spend much time talking about the cart. For the most part, in this very short presentation, I'll say it's a shopping cart that you've seen a million times. We do offer some very unique things, and there's lots of robust options behind it. For example, ordering with a credit card or a purchase order. It can be down to who the user is who logs in as to how we engage with them economically. But for the most part, it's a shopping cart, and I'll leave it at that for now. So I want to focus back on some of these products here. The second is a pre-designed package. This is one that we will convert, but it's something we've agreed to with the customer already. They know what it is. They can't change it. All they can do is come in and pick a quantity and buy it. The one nice little option, though, you'll notice here, is we do allow them to come in, or we allow the vendor producing this, to come in and show them the quantity available, the inventory, 1,635. It's an option. You don't have to turn it on. You don't have to use it, but you can on some of these items. If it's an item that you build and you'll be picking from inventory, you might want to give customers the visibility of what the inventory is like. But bottom line, it's a pre-designed manufacturable item. They just buy it. It adds it to the cart. That's the end of the discussion. There's no interaction with it at all. Now, that is in contrast to what we call a smart canvas type product. This one, likewise, we'll be converting, but the customer has the ability to interact with some aspect of it. When I click Buy Now, you'll see that the die line has been decided. It's already going to be shown to the customer. What we're asking them to do is add artwork to this. There's text that we can add, artwork, images, logos, and so forth, QR codes, rectangles, lines, etc. It's pretty simple. Customers have seen this type of interface. If they're a designer, certainly they have InDesign products like it. We can upload artwork, logos, pick them from defined assets, and so forth. Let me just grab one here. You can see it's pretty simple. It's going to add that. We can position it wherever we wish, rotate it, resize it, etc. Now, what's amazing about this is we, as the people putting together the site and presenting this product, can decide what's allowed and what's not allowed. Maybe you can't add images or only text. Maybe I can add images, but we're not going to allow them to resize it more than 10%, or there's all kinds of constraints. In fact, the constraints you can put are really quite crazy. They're in depth. So we allow the customers to come in and be very free form about it or extremely locked down about it. Once they've decided what they'd like to do with this, of course, they can put the name of it in. We saw this before. Pick a quantity. This one's been likewise limited to groups of them. We can preview it. What we're doing is converting it to a production PDF in the background. So we're going to give that to them as a preview. And that'll come up in a second. And once that loads, they can, of course, approve it by adding it to the cart, or they could save it. And all the product types we're looking at here, we could say, you know, maybe they added like 10 logos, a bunch of text, they've spent a bunch of time, and they're thinking to themselves, I can't do this now. I just realized I'm missing a logo. You can always save where you're at and come back to it later. But in this case, we could also just add it to the cart. Now that works well when you've got a product set up that you want to give the customer some limited or open-ended ability to play with the art, but it is limited to a fixed die, if you will. There's nothing in that, the size of that or the die in the background that was dynamic. So it's really good for some product types, not great for other product types. And one would be a customer who has digital output capability and is happy to either cut on a digital table, or maybe you've got a laser cutting device, something where you're able to dynamically allow the customer to parametrically change the product, term we use. And that is what we call a smart box product. Now, I don't want to drag this out too long. I'll show you a couple different variations of basically the same thing. So this first one, when I come in, it's going to load the product in the background and then show it to me in 3D. It'll kind of fold it up. On my screen, the animation is very smooth. Through WebEx, that might be a little chunky for you there. But basically, I can see what it looks like, rotate it around just by clicking and dragging with the mouse, open it up so I can see what it is flat. And like we saw with the other products, I can add graphics that I upload or that are in the library. I can add text. I can change panel colors and so forth. Very simply, we just grab the artwork. Let's grab this guy here, and we can position it, and I say, you know, I think that's going to be really great. But is it? So I click back on the 3D button, and I can rotate it around and perhaps see, oh, I didn't think about the glue flap here, so maybe I need to move it over. Go back to outside view and manipulate it. What we're doing is allowing the customer to have this interaction to see the final product, which is extremely helpful when the size is dynamic. And when I go to the Dimensions tab, you'll notice that I can come in. I could change the media. We saw that. But I could also change some of the parameters, length, width, and depth. You decide which ones they can change and how much. We wouldn't want them to make a depth of 2 inches. So we would prohibit certain limits so they can't make it too small or too big that we couldn't manufacture it, for example. But if I come in and put in, say, 15 and hit resize, you'll see the artwork on the right dynamically resizes. Of course, that could create problems, but thankfully I can look at it in 3D and see, yeah, that's not really what I was thinking about. So it's an extremely powerful engine from a designer's point of view to be able to manipulate the graphics and so forth, but also manipulate the product, its dimensions, within the constraints that are put on it, which could be very open-ended or extremely closed down. Now, I'm not going to add this one to the cart. We've seen that already. Again, for the sake of time, I'll just back away from this one. Show you one other example, a couple other examples quickly. This one here, again, the customer can come in and manipulate it and work with it. We can see here I can rotate it around. It's a nice little 6-bottle carrier. I could open it up. But you'll notice when it comes to sizes under the dimensions, I just have 2 choices. This is not one that we're going to allow the customer to pick whatever they want. I have 2 choices because, for example, I have 2 standing dies already. I'm not going to get into custom cuts on this one. They pick from these 2. That's the end of the discussion. But I've allowed them to work very flexibly with the graphics and haven't restricted them maybe that they couldn't add text or graphics or so forth. But again, very powerful way to interact with it with some constraints here, but not a lot. And the last example of the parametric design I'll show you is a box where we've come in already and populated the artwork for this product. Customer can see it loading in. Again, they can grab it, rotate it around. In this case, though, well, a couple of things we see quickly. One is the artwork's already been placed. However, I'm allowing them to come in and manipulate it so they can move items around, delete things, add new graphics, and so forth. You notice the Dimensions tab is missing. Just not going to allow them to change the dimensions. We've already decided that this, for example, holds 12 bottles of a certain type. We don't want the customer changing that and creating problems, but we're happy to allow them to manipulate the graphics. And again, having done that, they can always go back in 3D and see the changes and see, yeah, that was not a great change moving that logo because we've created some disturbance there. Now, at this point, we often get the question, what about components with more than one item. Everything I've shown you is simple RSCs and so forth. Oh, my timer's going off here. It says, Davo, hurry up. All right. But sometimes you have an item with more than one component. And I've created one down here at the bottom. I call it the strong box, and it has two parts. When we come into this one, it says, well, here's part one, if you will, the shell, and part two, which is the insert. I've colorized them a little differently in the preview so you can see what the deal is. And the idea is we would come in, put in a quantity, and then I'm forced to go in and customize each part. Now, I don't have to make changes. I just have to look at it essentially and approve it, but I could make changes. In this case, you can see I can't click on the logo. It's locked. I can't even select it. Other items, yep, I've locked all these down, but I could come in and add more images and more text, or potentially not allow that. It might be that the only thing they can edit is an existing piece of text with a city name, because this is going to be gift boxes that are created and sent to people in different cities. Maybe there's a team logo, and that's all they can change. So it just depends on how much you want to lock down or not. Once they've done that, oh, I got to look at the preview here, make sure I'm good with the preview. It's going to convert that again to a PDF in the background. Show that to me. I'm like, yep, that's great. I hit finish and agree, and then it'll bring me back and say the first one's complete. Now you would go on and do the second one, and again, make changes or not. But this allows us to create even complex display items, all with the components listed out and each one of them individually editable. The last thing I'm going to show you here, of course, we can sell non-print items, and it's very typical for a lot of packaging companies to sell some of the materials they use in their workflow themselves, get a really good price on tape. Hey, let's sell it to our customers. In this case, I can see I've got 600 available. I could just put in a quantity and order it. But we said, you know what? We don't just sell packing tape. We sell a bunch of things that are related. So I've gathered a bunch together into a category. A category can be used for the items above, as you see them here. This works well if you have 12 items. If you have 150 items, putting everything on the main page of the storefront doesn't make sense. You'd want to categorize them. So the category I used here was for packing supplies, where we could come in, grab one of them or more than one. This one, I'm just going to add 5 of these and 80 of those and, I don't know, 10 of these. And I can just click the Add All to Cart. They don't have to be done individually. Cart gets populated. The last thing I'm going to show you, and it's going to take about 10 seconds. It's quick because I think we're going to have a little more information explained on this in a minute. And that is, what do we do when we now take the hat off of the buyer and we're now at the plant and we have all these orders coming in? So I'm going to go to the order view. So again, I'm working back at the plant where these items are made or fulfilled. And I can see the orders as they've come in. And it's a really nice interface because I could sort by the orders themselves. So someone, for example, down here, these 3 items are all within one order. So right now I'm looking at the line item view. I can see every single line item of every order that's come in, or I could have come in and clicked on orders in the top right, and I'm just seeing the individual orders themselves. Some may have many items within them. Regardless of which view I'm in, I can have some interaction with this. I can see, for example, price that's been quoted to them or that we've been billed at, or whether maybe no price was provided and we have to get back to them. I can see the status of whether the user's approved it or it's waiting approval from somebody. Depending on how our relationships work, I could be the person approving it directly from here. But ultimately, at the end, these orders have to make their way off into pre-press and manufacturing. And so that's my ability to come in, submit the order off if it hasn't been done so already. I can, of course, look at the job ticket and so forth and interact with that order. This one happens to be submitted by someone using a different storefront ordering T-shirts for Shorefront Brewery. So that is a admittedly whirlwind tour. Didn't intend to get into any more depth than that. We'd be happy to help you with questions. I'm sure some of you have got many, and we'd love to engage with you on that. But I'm going to pass this back to Aaron, I suppose.
Thank you, Davo. That was fantastic. I will take the presentation back.
Take the ball back. It's yours.
Yeah. Brilliant. And we'll just share my screen. There we go. So hopefully that gave everyone a good grounding and background on exactly how things work. Once again, that order to checkout process that we talked about earlier in PackCentral and gives you a very good idea of the buyer side, the customer side experience. So what you saw there was the first three tabs here, the user access, the custom storefronts or catalogs, and some of the various products and product configurations options available to you, or rather to your customers when they're interacting with PackCentral. Let's transition now to what's new. And there are three things I want to focus about in the most recent release in version 11. We released version 11 almost 10 days ago now. So very new, and we've got some exciting new pieces and modules to add on to what Davo's already shown you. The first of which is our fulfillment module. The fulfillment module for PackCentral adds some very easy use, again, big focus on simplicity and user experience here, but flexible, cost-effective fulfillment management. So you can manage inventory better. It provides you with the tools you need to be able to do basic warehousing and inventory management for your customers. Everything that you need to place SKUs and product into inventory, manage them, and then make them available, of course, to your customers for ordering. And then when it's time to pick and fulfill those orders, manage that process on the back end. So Taylor's going to give you a look at that in just a minute. The second piece that we've added is a very exciting module for PackCentral. This is a game changer. AutoEngage really is designed to enable you to market back to your customers. And we built three basic notification events that, again, allow you to very quickly do or drive three marketing communication programs without really having any background in programming an integrated marketing campaign. But what these do is they work off events in PackCentral. Probably the easiest example to talk about is the abandoned shopping cart. So if you think about yourselves when you're online buying products from a retailer or from a service provider, and you abandon that shopping cart, you leave it, many of those retailers now will send you a notification reminding you, hey, Davo, by the way, remember you were in the middle of buying these items. Don't forget, these are still in your cart. You can jump back to that cart. Maybe you provide them with a discount to complete that transaction in a given time. So we've got three nice notification events, once again, that Taylor's going to take you through to give you some sense of how that marketing engine for your web-to-pack platform works. And then finally, we've spent a lot of time refreshing and updating that new admin UX. And the focus of that has been switching from point-by-point configuration of individual items to workflow-based administration, enhanced support for larger data sets, the ability to sort and filter views of data and drive bulk operations, and the support to customize and personalize the workspace. So again, Taylor is going to give us a quick look at that. Right now, I'm going to hand over to Taylor, and he's going to take us through those three new things: fulfillment, AutoEngage, and the new administration UX. So over to you, Taylor.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. Can you see my screen showing the Brewery page?
Loud and clear.
run through this rather quickly because I want to new facets of 11.0 here. So I really encourage you. I know you're going to see some things that if you're a current customer that are new and shiny, and if you're not a current customer, hopefully gets you excited enough that you want to reach out to a sales representative and see more. So I'm really hoping that this taste of our update drives some more conversations down the road. But I'm going to start here at our Bira Brewing Company fulfillment storefront. And we're using this specifically for fulfillment to show you some of the capabilities under the hood. So like David did, I'm going to start very quickly from the buyer side. And let's say I'm a buyer who wants to buy some drinkware for my restaurant. And I'm coming down here and I want to add, let's say, 6 of these lager glasses and another 6 of the beer mugs. And we'll also add some Pilsner glasses. So I'm going to go and proceed to checkout. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to operate this so it's just a customer pickup, and then I'm going to pay at pickup just to bypass some of the credit card processes that would normally come with this type of e-commerce transaction. So I place my order, and you can see here that the order number is 687. So now that order's gone through, I'm going to jump over to the administration side. And first it's going to ask me to log in. So I'm going to jump into the fulfillment administration UI. And the first thing I'm going to do is, if you imagine I'm an administrator from Bira Brewery, I probably got an automated email saying that a new order had come in. And so I'm going to go to this order page here, and I'm going to see that, yep, order 687 is now on my list of new orders. And if I want to dive deep into that, I can click on that link, and the order confirmation details will show up, which shows the products that were purchased, the price, and additional transaction details towards the bottom of that page. So all that looks good. So I'm actually going to jump over and review this on my line item screen. And you'll notice that when you get to your line item screen, there's going to be multiple line items showing. And as Dava mentioned, they can be searched and filtered a number of different ways. So I'm going to unfilter Jeff there, and I'm just going to search for the order number 687. And I can see that the 3 products that I ordered are now showing up in my line item view: the 19-ounce lager, the beer mug, and the Pilsner glasses. And one thing I also would like to do is I want to change my view from this production view to the fulfillment administration view. And that's all customizable based on the user. But for this instance, it's going to allow me to see the data how I prefer to see it as administrator. And for this demonstration, what I really want to show is just the ability to see, okay, here's the quantity that needs to be picked, and here's the remaining inventory that we have. And just to ensure that the order didn't go over how much we have in inventory, and that I can simply pick and pack this as I normally would. So obviously you can see that we have a lot in inventory, so this small order should be fine to move into pick and pack. So to do that, I'm simply going to select my items, and I'm going to release the line item to pick and pack. When I do that, this pop-up screen is going to show up, and this pick and pack slip, something I can download, save, or print out for my order, and has the order items associated with this purchase. And then if there were any back order items, it would also list them below here. But of course, we have all of these in inventory, so nothing to be listed. now that they've been released to pick and pack, I'm actually going to go over to my pick view page. And I can see here's order 687. It's been assigned a pick ID of 295. And if I go to this page, I want you to imagine an individual in a warehouse who has a tablet. And once those line items get released, this pick view could show up on his tablet, and he could easily look at the walk sequence and the most efficient path to pick the products in each location in order to pack the products and get them to shipping. And so while he's doing so, he could simply come here, and again, if he's on a tablet, just mark with his finger that this item was picked, and this item was picked, and this item was picked. So they've been picked, packed, the products have been sent to shipping, and so as an operator, all I need to do is come back to my line item view, and my line items are still here, and they show the status of picked, which means that the individual on the warehouse floor has picked them, packed them, sent them to shipping. So all I have to do is select those items, and then I can change the status from picked to completed. And now you'll notice a little locked icon, meaning that they're done, that they've been moved from, I guess, in the queue to out of the queue, and hopefully those items are getting out the door very quickly to your customer. So when doing this, inventory will automatically get updated. So if you were to go back and look at your inventory counts now, the order of 6, the order of 6, and the order of 8 would all be reduced from this available quantity here. So that's a very quick run through from the buyer side through the administration side of the fulfillment module. Again, there's a lot of more capability in terms of setting up inventory, setting up the layout of your warehouse, and really from start to finish how to set up and organize your fulfillment operation. So hopefully this was just a taste, and we can give you a more deep demo tomorrow where we have another webinar focused specifically on fulfillment. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into AutoEngage now and pivot to our new AutoEngage module. So again, we're on the administration screen, and at the very bottom of our administration panel, you're going to see a new section called Customer Communications. And so I'm just going to click that AutoEngage link. And while this is opening, I want to give just a brief description of why we built AutoEngage. As Aaron said, I think it's a game changer in the sense that it's a really robust and easy to use marketing tool that I know PackCentral customers will benefit from, simply because it gives you a way to market to your database, driving additional conversions, driving additional sales, all without having to export data outside of the database or set up emails in a separate service provider. When you log into AutoEngage, the first thing you're going to see is your email metrics dashboard. And this data and the layout of this can be configured based on user type and user preferences. You can either review the data kind of as an overarching campaign, so multiple campaigns under one umbrella, or you can drive into specific campaigns and see data related to just a certain email series. Scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see metrics on email performance, so how many emails have been sent, how many emails have been opened, email clicks, and then any bounced emails. And what I want to stop and point out here is these are pretty basic email metrics today. What we're hoping for in future releases is to add more what I would call conversion metrics. So especially with things like promo codes and abandoned shopping cart campaigns, the ability to see in this interface how many conversions or how much revenue is being driven based on those campaigns. So again, not something we're going to market with today, but gives you a little bit idea what that roadmap looks like and what our hope is for this dashboard down the road. To create a new campaign, you simply go to that home icon and hit New Campaign, and it's going to bring you to the campaign wizard where you can either select abandoned shopping cart campaign, a promo campaign, a product marketing campaign, or creating a new theme. if I was coming in here for the first time and setting up my AutoEngage campaigns, I'd want to create a new theme right away, because that gives me an easy way to create designs, update copy, and essentially assemble all of my emails at the start so that I can just copy them over when I'm creating new campaigns and not having to recreate them every time I come into this wizard. For today's demonstration, I'm just going to jump right into the abandoned shopping cart campaign just to give you a flavor of how you set these up and what they look like. So you can see after I select this campaign type, it's going to show me the elements. So we have a shopping cart email, and it's linked to the PackCentral user database. I can filter my data in terms of I can send this email to all companies, or I can send them to an individual company within my PackCentral database. And I can adjust the number of hours that the email will be sent. So for instance, our default here is that if a user has items in their shopping cart and they leave for whatever reason, 24 hours later, they will get an email with saying, "Hey, you have products in your cart. Would you like to finish that shopping cart?" You can adjust that to 12 hours or 16 or however you see fit. So we'll put it at 36 for this demonstration. For themes, AutoEngage has a few already created themes that you can pick and choose from. Or again, if you created your own theme at the onset, that would be listed down here. For this demonstration, I'm just going to pop into this campaign theme and just give it a name. Apparently, I've already used that one. And that one. So once we've completed the campaign wizard, our campaign storyboard will load here, showing the elements associated with this campaign. So again, we have our email, and then we have a landing page that allows anyone who wants to unsubscribe from this campaign to confirm that unsubscribe here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the email. And from here, I can click on this email link, and I can update my subject line, my alt text, my preview text. I can then jump into the email itself. I can update the copy. I can update an image. And again, with a theme that's already been created, a lot of these updates may have already been done before you get to this standpoint. But I wanted to show the flexibility that the email creator has when you're updating and sending out campaigns. Really, the beauty of AutoEngage, and one thing I'm really like, is that we've already created these data variables that is bringing in personalized records from the PackCentral database. So as a user, I don't need to go in here and personalize the email name or personalize the product name, product description. AutoEngage is pulling that information directly from the PackCentral database. So all I need to do as a marketer is, again, maybe update my logo, clean up the copy, some imagery, and then this is ready to go. So again, it's a very simple and easy tool to get campaigns out the door quickly. Once my campaign is ready, I simply have to hit Start Campaign, and that campaign will run. And what's important to note is that once it runs, it's going to run until you say stop. So right now, this campaign is going to send emails to people in my database that have items in their shopping cart that haven't finished that transaction. So I might let that run for a number of weeks and then come in here, stop the campaign, review my metrics, and then adjust my strategy. So that is AutoEngage in a very brief nutshell. And I want to give Aaron at least 5 minutes to wrap up. So I'm going to go back and talk about the new UI for MarketDirect PackCentral. So the reason we've updated our UI in this release is pretty simple. As Aaron pointed to, a lot of our customers have a high quantity of both products, categories, users in the platform. And when making adjustments to those different items at a large scale, it can be very difficult when you have to click through each individual product or category one at a time. So what we really aim to do is to streamline that administration workflow to make it easier on administrator, save them time, and ultimately save them resources and overhead. So if we're looking at our Manage Products landing page, which Davo touched on in his demonstration, you'll see that a user can come in and select a specific view. So right now I'm in our Director of Product Management, Christopher O'Hara's view. I could seamlessly click on NBSF Administrator, and that would change the columns that are presented and the different data that I'm seeing. If I wanted to change this view, I could just come into my customized list, and I could say I want to also view low inventory and the product ID. I also want to see icons for price and shipping status. And if I click Apply, these additional icons and data columns will show up. In a similar fashion, I can also filter all of this data. So I can either come in and from like a list, select the different product types that I want to see in this data set, or I can come in and type directly into a field. So maybe I'm looking for a banner. So within this data set, I can see I'm looking for ad hoc products that contains the word banner, and this is the only product that I have in my catalog. And just like views, I can save this filter. So as a user, if I want to come back and view this in the future, all I have to do is come back to the Save filter, and this one item will appear. And the final thing I want to show before handing this back to Aaron is the idea of bulk operations. So again, rather than having to click into each individual product and make changes, I can either make basic changes in line here just with this hamburger menu. So I can modify security, I can copy the product, I can publish a product to a category or storefront, or I can delete the product, all without leaving this landing page. If I want to make bulk operations, I can click as many products as I see here, and you'll notice these buttons at the top show up. So again, I can select companies, I can delete the products, and modify the security. And rather than going into individual products and assigning permissions at a product by product basis, I can simply click on the administrators I want to assign access to. You'll see they appear on this right panel, and then I can say, okay, I want each one of these to be able to manage this product. And then I can update the security, and that was done in a matter of seconds rather than minutes going into each product specifically. So with that, Aaron, I'll hand it back over to you. And again, if our attendees have questions or would like to see a more in-depth demo, I know we'd be happy to do that in the future.